Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. We're on the European account and I just need to get 3 Druid or Rogue victories and then we can move over to the Asian account. Let's just double check we've done the Tavern Brawl. Yes, we have. The new expansion is almost here. On the European account we've got 75. Actually, we have more card packs and more gold on this account than we do on my main account, which is surprising. So between just the Americas account and the European account, it's 150. It's going to be like 225 card packs that we open in the next expansion. Druid or Rogue though? I think I'd probably stick with Druid in this case. And we don't really have too much news, so we just are going to burn through that and then we're going to kind of move on. Let's see, I'm either going to fall asleep or I'm going to schedule some videos and then fall asleep depending on what happens first.
I must protect the wild.
TechRaptor, might as well start covering the news immediately here. TechRaptor has an article, gold bars in Red Dead Online could take 8 hours to earn. I've heard people are not particularly happy with the Red Dead Online currency system. It seems like it is designed to be grindy and kind of force people into paying money to win, which is GTA Online in a lot of ways too, except for GTA Online had a lot of cheaters. Like microtransactions are going to be added even though they aren't in the game right now, according to Rockstar, where you can buy gold bars and you've used gold bars to buy purely cosmetic items, like they always say, like decorations for your camp, skins for your weapon, or doesn't seem like much else. Let's see, there's a quote here, played around 4 hours yesterday, you need 100 nuggets to get 1 gold bar. You get in between 0.02 and 0.04 0.02 gold bars equals 2 nuggets from series, death matches, races, etc., which take 10 minutes each or less. Assuming you always get 0.02. There's no loading time. It takes 50 games or 500 minutes to get 1 gold bar. That makes 8 hours and 20 minutes. Assuming all that math is correct. And that's assuming you get the worst nugget reward and you always reach a time limit. Let's see. So that seems really excessive. I had just started listening to the Giant Beast cast, by the way, and apparently I think Dan Reichard just has now officially given up on even finishing Red Dead Redemption, so that seems like that's a pretty strong shift. I wouldn't have really expected that was going to be the case. I thought, personally, I was more leaning towards people in the mainstream video game media loving Red Dead Redemption 2 and the mainstream players having moved on quickly to the next game, which would have been, I guess, Battlefield. There definitely is some weirdness when you have video game journalists sort of shutting down at the end of the year because they have to make end of the year content or do corporate end of the year reviews or something like that, which I assume like there's not too much of that, but basically from now till the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if most video game journalists don't pick up any new games and instead start playing older games and trying to catch up and trying to get ready to get into end of the year discussions, reviews, things like that. That being said, it's kind of ridiculous that anybody would release a new game at this point. It was also kind of ridiculous that they released Darksiders 3 after Black Friday, but they did it. It's almost as if they knew Darksiders 3 was not going to be great, so they're trying to sneak it out. I don't know. I just don't get that at all. I feel like you could have easily have just not released Darksiders 3 ever and been just as well as releasing it in the state that it's in right now. Anyways, I don't want to get into a rant there. I also kind of need to play the game and make up my own decision. A lot of my opinions on newer games, because it's been a long time since I bought a new game. Probably. Oops. There's my new and improved alarm clock that just literally talks to you. I turned that back on to work on my insomnia. And probably didn't need to do that.
For the wild.
Yeah. I think The Witcher 3 probably is one of the newest games, maybe The Witness. I probably bought The Witness, brand new. But yeah, it's been probably 10 months or longer since I bought a brand new game and covered it myself. And instead I'm still just playing old games and doing retrospectives, which is definitely a lot cheaper. Yeah, I'm really not to the point when this December Steam sale happens either that I'd feel like, oh, I should buy this brand new game. I don't think 2018's been a particularly good year for the quality of games. We've gotten a lot of them. We've gotten a lot of quantity, but I think in retrospect, the quality has been pretty low. So we've got a game on Steam called Bots Rush, which looks like it's kind of an Infinifactory clone with worse graphics. I'm not really seeing anything in the gameplay here that looks interesting. Early access for $3.99. Yeah, it might be a tower defense game too. That might be part of it, which just that makes it even worse. Yeah, it is a tower defense game, so yeah. No interest there. Okay. 6 damage. Let's see if we can do this. Arg.
Hey, catch! For the wilds.
See, next we have a game on Steam called Cuckoo Kitchen. I like this animation style. But what is this? Is this a cook serve delicious done on a conveyor belt? It looks like it is. Looks like you're just doing somebody's job, and games where you do somebody's job doesn't interest me. They've thrown some other ideas certainly into the mix here. where you're clicking on other kinds of things and defending the conveyor belt. But this definitely feels like a game where you'd be moving the mouse all over the place and just getting repetitive stress injuries. I like this animation style. I wish they'd make a different game with it. $6.39. Dude, that's not the right kind of price for this kind of game. I would say it's too expensive.
The scourge will devour all.
Go ahead and take our victory. Next we have a game on Steam that's all in Chinese or Japanese characters, English language not supported, simplified Chinese. So it looks like it's probably a cheap Chinese Roblox clone asset flip style game. Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything here that interests me, and I couldn't play it even if it did interest me. Over here in Hearthstone, we made it to rank 19 on the win streak, which is nice. I guess the month is about to end too, so if I cared about what rank I was going to end, or what kind of rank reward I was going to get, I would be really grinding right about now, trying to get up to rank 17 on the 3 accounts. But yeah, it's not worth the effort. It's totally not worth the effort. Next we have a game on Steam called 3 Kingdoms 2018, best I can tell. It's pretty obviously a cell phone port, a very bad cell phone port. Says it's a free-to-play RPG, English not supported again, simplified Chinese. This is the kind of game you easily can call a cheap Chinese product. Just look at this incredibly large black bars. People, if they need to think about different sizes and shapes of screens when developing their games, even if you are just making a cell phone game, like we are going to get to the point where everybody is going to at least appreciate the ability to turn their cell phone sideways and play in a widescreen format. And there's definitely some games that I'm playing right now, even on my cell phone, that don't make a lot of sense in their vertical format, but they don't let you play in a horizontal format anyways. They still make you just kind of pan around for no reason. Should have waited. I should have played this second turn, played this third turn, then played this fourth turn with some other minions. Next we have a game on Steam called Fighting EX Layer, which is of course a fighting game that will pretty much immediately go to the wish list. I don't think that there's much of a reason to not, and a lot of videos there showing off the moves, which is what you would need in a fighting game, certainly, is to show off just all of the fighting characters. It's rated very positive. It's brand new, $29.59. Perhaps the DLC bumps it up quite a bit, $70 in DLC if you need to buy all of that, which it seems like you probably don't need to buy any of it. Maybe this is the fighting game for me. After I played something like Dragon Ball FighterZ, which I think inherently should be the first fighting game I play if I play any, maybe I should go to Fighting EX Layer over, say, Street Fighter V or Blaze Blue. But I'm still kind of iffy about that. I still don't have a clue. at all. But I like the price point, at least the entry-level price point of a fighting game. Let's see. And I know all these fighting games probably have tiny little differences in how they play, but as a person who would be new to the genre, I'm totally not gonna know any of that or understand any of that. Let's see, kill this guy. TechRaptor has an article. Anthem Alpha comes to PC and consoles this December. So yeah, Anthem is still in development. That's pretty much all this article boils down to. Anthem is expected to be released for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One on February 22nd, 2019. And every time I've seen Anthem, it looked like an incredibly boring game. Like it just feels like it always boils down to an incredibly boring Halo clone, Destiny clone, or something of that nature. And, like they're really failing to put a video trailer out to explain what the world is, why people should care about this world, and why it's different than so many other games that I just named. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article. WildStar developer Carbine Studio is no more. Carbine Studio has closed its doors for good after shutting down its sci-fi MMO WildStar on November 28th. So, founded in 2005 by a group of former Blizzard colleagues, Carbine Studios was purchased by NCSoft in 2007 and released its first and only game, WildStar, 7 years later in 2014. So then the question boils down to,
the light protects me.
Are the employees that used to work at Carbine Studios perhaps moving over to work with, say, Ben Brode and his new company, or are they just scattering to the wind, or are they doing starting their own company or what? That is the question here. It does seem like even 7 years ago people were trying to leave Blizzard, so the Blizzard that is now is not the Blizzard of the old days. And we kind of knew that if you paid attention. The people who created Diablo went on to make Torchlight, so yeah, if you like Diablo 2, you probably should play Torchlight more than playing what Diablo 3 was when it originally came out. Let's see. I'm playing cards, but I'm not really getting anywhere. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has another article. GameStop reports $488.6 million loss despite strong software sales. Let's see, the company reported a net loss of $488.6 million for the quarter, or $4.78 per diluted share, compared to net income of $59.4 million, or 0.59 cents per diluted share in the prior year quarter. I wonder if they are just intentionally diluting shares of their company. Or is this some kind of attempt to screw the investors? Let's see. See, the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Financial Officer of GameStop, Rob Lloyd, explains that the company lowered its projected forecast because it now anticipates a weaker fourth quarter despite sharing better than expected third quarter results. Quote, while our Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales were strong, we anticipate that our fourth quarter sales will skew more towards hardware than initially planned, along with underperformance of certain titles, weakness in pre-owned, and recent sales promotions will result in a fourth quarter earnings that are below the previous expectations, Lloyd said in the statement. I can see what he's saying, certainly. When you think about Black Friday, there really weren't a lot of games on sale. If they were investing heavily in something like Fallout 76, that performed pretty badly. Red Dead Redemption's probably not selling great. The previous few quarters, there haven't been really great games that then would have been turned in and been allowing them to sell it at a high price used again. GameStop certainly is in a bad position. They're just always in a bad position, and they kind of deserve it because their entire business model sucks and the way they treat their employees sucks. But yeah, they're just never really going to succeed in what they're trying in being successful, because more and more there will be less used game sales and less on-disc sales, and their only idea so far was to sell little kitsch merchandising odds and ends related to video games. Whereas if I was running GameStop, I would have had them buy out Toys R Us. Totally. I would be heavily pushing for the purchase of Toys R Us, and I would have bought all of the toy inventory and sold it. I would have invested not just in video games but toys, and expand out from that. You go from Toys R Us back to Kids R Us, and you start selling baby products and furniture and clothing and formula. And then what you also probably would want to do is expand into like the Office Max, Office Depot realm, so that people start to learn, hey, not only can I go to GameSpot for video games, toys, and kids products, but I can also get office supplies, paper and ink for my printers. You probably would, just in the acquisition of Toys R Us alone, would want to change your name from GameSpot to something like The Spot, or you maintain two separate identities where you have Toys R Us and GameSpot, both using those recognizable names. You probably want to keep Toys R Us available. Like, I don't know if GameSpot ever had the money to do any of this, certainly, but that's what I would have gone for. I would have pushed from something like Office Depot into, at that point, if you had Office Depot, Office Max type equipment, also you could then start going after Best Buy directly and selling TVs and such, and you just try to become something like a Walmart, where you have a little bit of everything that makes some money. Yeah, and yeah, that would work pretty well, I guess. Or I think it would work. It's probably not. GameIndustry.biz has the same article. GameStop reports strong quarterly sales and $488.6 million loss. Asset impairment charge due to slumping stock price wipes out gains from Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption, and Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Yeah, Battlefield 5 probably severely hurt them, if I was to guess. I would bet that they thought Battlefield 5 would have been a big ticket seller, and they may have over-invested in that. They may have a lot of stock of those discs. Man, I just keep going back and forth with Project Valence. Let's see. We have a game on Steam called A Cheesy Game, which looks like it's a platformer with a slightly odd shifted perspective for what is basically a 2D kind of platformer, Super Meat Boy style clone. So I'm assuming your play as a piece of cheese, which that idea is cute, but probably need to do something more with it. I would much more prefer to play as a mouse carrying a piece of cheese, something that I could relate to on a human level more than just playing as an inanimate piece of cheese. So yeah, this game doesn't look like there's anything special there.
For the wild.
So I already kind of talked about this, but TechRaptor has an article, Obsidian Entertainment's new game to be revealed at the Game Awards. From what I hear, there will be 10 announcements. Yes, it does say here in TechRaptor. Earlier this week, we found out that Jeff Keighley's The Game Awards will feature more than 10 new game announcements. We know that a game by Obsidian Entertainment will be among the lineup. So if 10 new game announcements are coming out from the Game Awards, I wonder if those 10 games might have been at least some of them might have been E3 2019 Sony announcements. Yeah, I doubt it, because that would be too early. So this would have had to have been something that was in the works for at least a year. Right, so we need a druid, and what kind of victories? Rogue victories. I'm gonna switch over to casual because this is gonna take longer than I have news for, and I don't want to end up playing a lot of off-screen games for no real reason. But just because they have 10 new games that are supposed to be announced doesn't mean that they're all going to be AAA amazing games. They could be 10 rather indie games that would jump at the chance of getting some stage time that they wouldn't get normally. So we shouldn't get too hyped about it. Gamma Sutra has an article, get a job, be a senior data scientist at Crystal Dynamics. That job is in Redwood City, California. Crystal Dynamics being the developer of the Tomb Raider reboot, which this job listing, you shouldn't look too much into it, but it does give you the slight hope that Crystal Dynamics isn't being shut down because of the lack of performance for the Tomb Raider trilogy. You would have kind of thought that, I think Square Enix had some role in that. Yeah, Crystal Dynamics as a part of Square Enix. I wouldn't have been really surprised had they said that actually they were just going to shut it down. So, yeah. That being said, Telltale was hiring people as late, I hear, as 2 weeks before it went completely shuttered and went bankrupt. So, yeah, you can't really take that as a confirmation of anything. Let's see, do we want to send something back yet? No, but we can do this.
Job's done.
So we've got a game on Steam called Memory Kara, K-A-R-A, which is clearly just a match 2 simplistic game. Seems like several of these were released at the same time, which I assume it means it's all the same developer, just releasing the same game, flooding Steam. I don't know why you'd particularly choose to do that. It's not gonna work well. And just blatantly obvious shenanigans going on when you do something like that. Could kill this, but there's really no reason to.
Here we go.
Of course, Memory Kara is not making it to the wish list. And then right after Memory Kara, we have a game called Insects, which is just another blatant match 2 simplistic game. Yep. This clearly is the same person.
Feel the power.
If I was gonna make very low effort, trollish releases of match 2 games, I would make one and then I'd wait 4 months and then I'd release another. Then I'd wait 4 months and I'd release another. If it turned out that I could churn out match 2 games every day, I would still wait at least a week, probably a month.
So many options.
Right, let's see. Trigger that twice. And then I'm gonna go and kill this.
Here we go.
Attack here, here, and here. Let's see. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Green Man Gaming software revenues are up 100% with Black Friday. That sounds a little made up to be exactly on the 100% mark. The subtitle to this article is Digital Games Retail also sees a 62% increase in units sold following the crowdsourced sale. Interesting. Yeah, that seems like a made up number though, to say exactly 100%. Okay. I want to trigger a death rattle. And then we can go ahead and kill this. And then do this.
Here we go.
Get that. Yeah, straight up just kill this.
Job's done.
In the turn. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Long Arm of the Law. Let's see what this is. It looks like it's a slightly simplistic game. This menu UI is too big, and that's too big. I need to see a video here and see how this actually plays, because this feels like this is a super zoomed in cell phone game that's been ported to PC. And while I'm watching this video and seeing what I can get out of it, I'll come over here and we'll try that again with the Rogue. So you run and you platform and you use your arm as a hook shot as the gameplay mechanic. I'm very confused though as to why the camera is so zoomed in. It feels kind of like a student project. And boy, do sometimes these games that feel like student projects feel like the schools are not doing a good job about teaching the idea of like good writing and good game development and good art aesthetic and art appreciation. I feel like video game programmers probably should take more classes in art appreciation and watching like movies and books and modern art and ancient art. Yeah, it says right here, Long Arm of the Aura was made by students from Florida Interactive Entertainment Academy over the course of 8 months. It is a totally free experience. Well, I love the cover of these student projects, and this one looks alright, but it's not great as far as gameplay design and artistic decisions. And I guess it's kind of a good thing that kids aren't allowed to come directly out of college and make their own games without some sort of oversight. But that's probably also a bad thing. I would like to see kids coming out of some sort of degree program. One assumes it's just a bachelor's degree program and not a master's or a PhD level program. I would like to see them understand how to make a game that is actually fun looking. The fact that I can look at a game and go, oh, this looks like a student art project, and then scroll down and find out that it is a student art project, means that something is not being taught there. Something is being lost. Or not lost as much as just not being passed on from generation to generation. Let's see. In the turn. Next we have a game on Steam called Hidden Object Home Makeover, which is a hidden object game from Big Fish Games. It looks actually particularly bad compared to some of the other hidden object games I've seen. And a hidden object home makeover game? That seems pretty generic. But I guess it's kind of unique too, because most of the hidden object games are around some kind of fantasy story. $9.99, still sticking to Big Fish's high prices. Like very, very often a hidden object game is you're fighting a vampire. You're doing something like that at least. So just a basic idea of, oh no, I'm just cleaning up a house and making it over, is kind of intriguing, but certainly not intriguing enough to sell me on spending $9.99 on a hidden object game. Moving on, gamingindustry.biz has an article. The U.S. Army has awarded a $480 million contract for Microsoft's HoloLens. The augmented reality headset prototypes will be developed to increase lethality, mobility, and situational awareness. So, yeah, this is straight up military use for the HoloLens. The good news is, I suppose, depending on how you look at it, I severely doubt the Microsoft HoloLens, from what I've heard, would actually be able to increase lethality, mobility, or situational awareness, because the amount of information that can be projected is not very good, and the HoloLens has really failed to deliver on what it implied it could deliver on. I guess that's good news, depending on your perspective. From a peacenik pacifist perspective, I would say that's good news. The bad news in that case would be that the U.S. Army just spent $480 million to give to Microsoft, and who knows if that really was $480 million to give to Microsoft for the HoloLenses, or was it $480 million to give to Microsoft so that they put in yet another back door into Windows so that the government can spy on its citizens and non-citizens around the world. If you want to get paranoid about it, that's a very good possibility too.
This guy's toast.
Yeah, I'm gonna just leave that where it is. Let's see. $480 million is probably chump change to the U.S. military, though, or the Army. That's probably just money that they had sitting around because they didn't want to spend it on more tanks that they don't need. Like, the U.S. government is constantly approving and forcing the military to buy more tanks, and they don't need more tanks. Like, tanks are old-fashioned, outdated things that just don't have much use in a modern battlefield. And yet, I believe one of the senators or congressmen is forcing the military to buy them because of what they call pork, where it's a contract that then gives money to a corporation that makes the tanks. So they're giving the money to the military, forcing the military to then give the money to a corporation. That corporation runs their business out of one of the senator's jurisdictions, and thus he gets more votes or more kickbacks because of that.
Hey, lights out.
Kill that one. I think that's good enough. At least that's my suspicion on what's going on. Of course, that's kind of a side conversation. Really had nothing to do with that article. Not much. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article, Dragon Age announcement teased for December. There is a new Dragon Age game that's going to potentially come out, and during the Game Awards in December 6th, it's possible a new Dragon Age game will be announced. And I'm not sure if that's something I should be hyped about or something I shouldn't care about at all. This. And get that. Let's go ahead and get that. Come on. If I kill this, it doesn't do anything. If I kill anything, it doesn't really do anything. Let's do this. Let's do that. And then in the turn. See, I don't even know if the Dragon Age series is a series I'm thinking about. Because there's Dragon Age and then there's something else. Or maybe there's good Dragon Age games and then there are bad Dragon Age games. Clearly I'm not intertwined or interested enough in the Dragon Age series to even understand it. I'm fairly certain though that the developers of Dragon Age are at least somewhat affiliated with the developers of Mass Effect, and since Mass Effect Andromeda went terrible, they probably need to knock this next game out of the park. Like, that's where I would say it needs to happen.
Here we go.
Do this. Do this.
Job's done.
Let's see. Next we have this game that is a Cyanide and Happiness style game called Rapture Rejects, which I don't think people really liked when it first came out, or at least the mainstream video game reviewers were not liking it. Seems like it's mostly positive here, and it's in early access, so I can put it on the follow list. It's multiplayer only though, so I guess I don't actually need to put it on the follow list. It's out there if you want to play it. I kind of agree though that this is probably not too fun of a game. You'll spend like 20 minutes on it and enjoy it. See, apparently you can play for free for the next 2 days. But yeah, I'm of an opinion that it's not likely to be actually a good game.
Here we go.
Let's see, what do we want to do here? Just hit that.
Too soon.
See, I could hit this again, but there's no reason to. Or if I was gonna hit it, I should probably play that first. So Raptor Rejects doesn't make it to the fall list just because it's a multiplayer only game. Shuffle a copy of this minion in your deck.
They grow up so fast.
Like, he's filling his deck with all of these. I don't know why. What's the strategy of doing this? Anyways, moving on, we have a game on Steam called Neri Tower of Shinrin, which looks interesting. I like this art style. It's different. It's a Western art style. It's not going for that standard moe anime move. It says it's an adventure, cute 2D game. I'm not really sure what kind of game it really is, though. It kind of feels like it's probably mostly a visual novel adventure style game. Doesn't feel like there's much gameplay. I'm gonna watch a second video and see if it shows me anything that looks like gameplay. Right. We do this.
Once for all and all for me.
And we do this. 11, 7, 7, 3. If I could do 2 more damage, I would have won. Yeah, I have no idea what kind of game this is. It's $9.99 though. I definitely want to put it on the follow list though. Its visual aesthetic has caught my attention, even if it doesn't really even have much of a gameplay idea. As another loss. We're getting good at losing. Well, getting good is ridiculous. We've been very good at losing for a long time. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Parkitect, which I could have sworn that this was already on Steam, so maybe it came out of early access. It's $29.99. This is, I think, probably a better clone of Roller Coaster Tycoon, or
I must protect the wild.
What is the other games like that? Like there's been definitely some Roller Coaster Tycoon games on Steam that aren't that good. So I need to put this on the follow list as a management game, sandbox game. I'm still not really sure I'd want to play these kind of games, but this would be in the top 3, I think, of the options, because at least this one is rated very positively, and some of the more recognizable names are not rated very positively, and I would ideally want to balance that out, play like one Roller Coaster Tycoon game that is actually rated pretty well, probably like the first Roller Coaster Tycoon, and then skip to something like Parkitect and say, yes, this is made from a different developer, but this is the same idea and done better by a more modern hand. And yes, the Roller Coaster Tycoon series did manage to continue going on, but those games aren't as good as Parkitect is, so we can do a side-by-side comparison of two relevant games and then label the other games as not being as relevant. Next we have a game on Steam called Rival Megagun, which is a shoot 'em up. Is it multiplayer? Yes. So I don't know what you really would play it if you're just playing single player. You're just playing against an AI. It seems like you're going for a score attack of some sort. I just don't like shoot 'em up games. It's just gonna be to thyself be true. I don't like shoot 'em up games. This one doesn't look terrible. The idea of side by side actually makes good use of the screen. $14.99 undiscounted, but it just kind of all boils down to I don't like shoot 'em ups. Right, kill that. So we only have a few more games to talk about, so we're really only going to go two episodes, even if there are things that we need to do off screen. I'll just play off screen. Let's see, 2 trims. And and I'm gonna just end the turn here. So next we have a game on Steam called Ricky Runner Superbot Cup, which looks like it's a parkour running game that has a lot of polish on it, or at least enough polish on it to make it worth putting on the follow list. Like, we've seen some much worse versions of this that didn't have any textures, and it was always just a generic white wall. Like here they've animated quite a lot, they've made a character, or at the very least they've asset flipped a lot of assets to the point where it looks like a uniform idea. It does also give off a little bit of a Splatoon vibe, being close to the water, at least in my mind, as somebody who really didn't play Splatoon. So yeah, this needs to go to the fall list. We need to see how well something like this actually plays, or in other cases is worth playing. Right, 1 attack, 1 attack. And then this, and that.
Time waits for no one.
I'm running about 10 games getting added to the wish list every couple of days, which means the wish list, if I cover it every 3 months, is going to have, let's see, 10 times 4 for 4 weeks in a month. It would be, no, 10 times 3 would be 30. 30 times 4 would be 120. 3 months times 120, you're talking, 360 games every 3 months that we need to look at and consider. 360 games definitely don't deserve to go to the wish list every 3 months.
The scourge will devour.
So maybe I do need to do a monthly video just to deal with that. Monthly would make more sense. It would be more consistent too.
For the wild.
Next we have a game on Steam called My Little Riding Champions. Now, this is a horse racing game, and inherently a lot of these horse racing games don't look great and look like they are designed in a way to just try and, I assume, trick little girls into wasting money. And you could see a little bit of asset flipping going on here, but not terrible. This actually looks pretty good. You also can see that My Little Riding Champion is just trying to kind of reference My Little Pony without saying My Little Pony. I do have to, once again, like, say my concerns of kids riding horses. I would feel better about kids riding ATVs over horses, because when you're riding an ATV you have helmets, hopefully you know it's dangerous, whereas it seems like a lot of people think that riding horses is perfectly safe, and it's not, because you have an animal that can decide to do whatever it wants. At least an ATV is highly unlikely to do something different than what you tell it to do. It's not going to just decide to roll over or lay down like a horse can. That being said, this looks like a pretty good game, visually at least. So it needs to be on the follow list. $25.49 discounted is rather expensive, but I'm willing to look at this and see if it's good. It definitely would be the first horse riding game I've ever played, with the exception of maybe some Zelda games where in part you ride horses. But yeah,
Your soul shall be mine. I must protect the
that's
wild.
something to think about. Let's trade out all these cards. Here we have another troll game from the troll publisher, Nikita Ghost RUS Games. Why this person has not been stopped from putting these terrible low effort games on Steam, I don't know. I guess maybe they just don't ever cross a line, or maybe Steam doesn't care because nobody buys their games, or I don't know. But Ghost RUS has been publishing games for months and months and months. It's been at least 6 months. Some of these games had to have been flagged. Some of these games had to have been looked at by somebody at Valve. So that's weird, certainly. Of course, it's not making it to the wish list. Speaking of not making it to the wish list, we have this game Weirwood, which this video looks cool in animation. It looks cool, but this is a text-only game. Just a text-only game. They always do this when they make these text-only games. They put this fancy video, because that's their entire animation budget in a nutshell. It's like they make a fancy thumbnail, a fancy video, and then they sell you this text-only game. If this was a cell phone game, maybe I'd consider it, but otherwise no. I'm still very much a believer that video games are audio-visual media by default, with very few exceptions. And a text-only, choose-your-own-adventure book in a digital format still does not qualify as a quality video game that deserves to be on Steam. Next we have Ride Up VR Ride Experience, which is another VR game. This idea, I suppose, is slightly interesting, where you're on a ride experiencing the VR experience. I suppose that this is safer than getting on those actual rides that are not well maintained or regulated at all. But it would be a different experience, and I think it would probably make me motion sick or or give me a fear of heights too.
For the wild.
So, and there's a lack of polish on it. It's free, so if you have a VR headset, Rydo is there for you to check out. But I'm not gonna bother to even put it on the follow list. It's still just trying to win here. Desperately trying to win.
I don't have enough mana.
Alright, so I have to do this. Let's see, next we have a game on Steam called Broken Reality, which seems like it's a surreal, let's tag surreal and memes game. It's rated positively, but I am not sure if this is an actual game or if this is just an asset flip thing. I think this is a troll asset flip game. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like it. It's not in VR either. It feels like it should be a VR game. Yeah, this does not look great. You could look at it and see what else this developer's made, and it's nothing. And he wants $13.49 for it. Still not getting those victories. Let's see, next we have on Steam a game tagged with nudity called Hentai Shadow, which, just skip this video and see what it really is. I'm fairly certain this is just a complete troll game.
Watch your
It's one of those shadow games from what I can tell, where you have an object and you have a light source and you're trying to rotate the 3D object to make a certain shape and match that certain shape. But how there's like nobody or nothing around towards that. And then the second part of the game, I guess now, is a generic slide puzzle with anime girls. Out of the blue. I mean, there's literally no connection to the first gameplay mechanic and the next gameplay mechanic that are just being shown. It's like somebody had a half-finished video game project and they decided to merge it together. Yeah. Clearly not a quality game, so not moving on to the follow list. Let's end the turn. And it's probably from the same publisher or developer that releases this next game, Hentai Memorama, Memorama, which is just a match 2 game with not even really anime girls by modern standard pictures. It seems to be cutouts of some early 80s, 90s anime women. It's not even the modern style, or it could actually be not anime women at all. It could just be Western animators that are trying desperately to animate in a way that they can't. Let's see. Yep, of course this game is not making it to the follow list either. Only a few more games to look at. Let's see. And of course, tons of victories I need to get. Next we have a game on Steam called Ride 3. Looks like it's a motorcycle riding game. And it looks kind of polished. So, and it's rated positively. So yeah, I think this probably deserves to be on the follow list. Not sure I'd particularly have any interest in playing a motorcycle game over a card racing game, but maybe $49.99, no discounted.
Here we go.
Job's done.
So yeah, that'll go on the follow list. Next we have a game on Steam called Azural's Circle Chapter 3. It's an RPG Maker game. Looks like total garbage. Even if there actually are 2 games previously in this series, that really doesn't mean anything when you're spending such a small amount of effort just using RPG Maker to make your game.
Here we go.
Okay. Let's go ahead and hit this one. And then play this. And then end the turn.
Well fought.
There we go. Thank goodness. So that's the European account done. We have 76 packs we can open December 4th when the next expansion happens. Let's move on to the Asian account now. While that's loading, we'll look at this game on Steam called Swords and Sandals Pirates, which seems like it might be a fighting game. It says it's an RPG strategy game.
You're back. Come tell us a story or two.
I'm not 100% understanding what's going on there. I guess the month ended, so I obtained the rank of Shield Bearer and got a rank 19 chest for 10 dust, 1 gold card, and a new season card back. So we can, I guess, enjoy that. That knocks us back down to rank 23. And we need 5 wins to get a season chest, which we'll certainly get that done. Hey, I can play Murlocs. Not a lot of opportunities to play Murlocs. So let's just go ahead and make this our new favorite. And let's see, do we have a reroll? No. Hero power, druid or rogue, Murloc deck. Let's play some Murloc games. Do I even have a Murloc deck? Ooh, I guess I don't. Let's see. But it makes sense to make a rogue or druid Murloc deck. Not really. Let's see. Shaman. Here. Murloc is the name, and Murloc is the search. I'm noticing I do not have one of the Murlocs that I would have really liked to have. Let's see. Like ideally you want this if you're gonna make a Murloc deck, and I guess that's why I didn't have a Murloc deck up until this point. So what else can we throw in here that would be slightly helpful? Just throw in that, I suppose. There's probably something else I could do. There you go. That's enough to start at least. Might as well play ranked while we're doing this. So this game, Swords and Sandals, seems like it's an RPG, oddly enough. And that kind of takes all the steam out of my sails when I see this RPG fight scene. And yeah, I thought this might have been a better game than it looks like it actually is.
The forest fights back.
Seems kind of boring. And this animation style is rough. Like, I really can't call this an artistic style. Okay, this, and this. Well, let's hold on to that one. I'm just gonna play Murlocs and not even care about strategy. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Dear Apothecary that looks a little rough, but maybe worth playing. Maybe worth at least putting on the follow list. Feels like it's a VR game. It's $3.39, and nothing here that says anything about VR. So yeah, I'll put this on the follow list, but it's pretty rough. I imagine we'll get some reviews pretty quick to tell me that it's not worth playing. Alright, let's freeze the enemy and attack. We only have a couple more articles. Gamma Sutra has an article. The IGDA urges devs to self-regulate loot boxes while they still can. So the International Game Developers Association has put forth a call to action regarding on how loot boxes are to be used. So yeah, not probably the most surprising thing in the world. Let's hit that. And then hit that. I'm starting to get sleepy, but I think we can wrap this up pretty well, and then I'll be done for today. Gamma Sutra has an article, 20 years of Fallout, lessons learned shipping games in the wasteland. It's 2 pages from November 6, 2015. This is another one of those Gamma Sutra articles that is getting republished for no real reason. And this really is from the developers of Fallout 1 and 2, not the developers of Fallout 3, or Fallout New Vegas, or Fallout 4, or Fallout 76, which would be much more relevant if those people had given an interview and come out and talked about the development of like Fallout 76 or Fallout 4. GameIndustry.biz has an article, Nintendo bets heavily on the holidays. While Sony and Microsoft have spread sales over the year, Nintendo is laser focused on the holiday season, and this year it needs every Switch sale it can get. I am not sure I really agree with the way that is being said. Like, if anything, I think Nintendo is pushing the Switch because the Switch is gaining wind and traction. And Nintendo Switch is probably the big game of this year, if I was to guess. The big toy of this year. So, yeah. I don't think Nintendo is struggling to succeed this holiday season. I think it's succeeding quite fairly. Let's see. Is there anything in this article I really want to see? And honestly, yeah, there's really nothing here. I'm just responding to the title alone from this GameIndustry.biz article. But honestly, if Nintendo flooded the market with Nintendo Switches this year, that's a good thing, because I remember the old days when Nintendo would not have enough Wiis and there was a big run during the holiday season to find a Wii. When Nintendo didn't have that many NESs or Super NESs. Nintendo's been kind of notorious about not having enough games on shelf during the holiday seasons. If they finally learned their lesson and they're stocking accordingly, that's a good thing. Maybe the story would change if after Christmas there's still a lot of Nintendo consoles on the shelves, but even at that point, I mean, who really cares? Throughout the course of 2019, Nintendos will still be selling and Switches will still be selling. Let's see. Can't do anything at all because my hand is, my field is full. I can do this. I can do this. Deal 8 damage to minion overload. Maybe I'll do that next time. Gamatsu has an article, The Last Remnant Remastered Graphics Overview trailer. So I'm gonna watch this trailer because there's like 2 more articles after this, and then that is kind of it. Let's see, deal 8 damage, overload 3. So I'm seeing a trailer of a character just walking down several streets, and I guess you're supposed to be looking at the graphics here. Honestly, the streets aren't amazingly well animated or anything. I don't know if the remastered release upgrades the game engine to Unreal Engine 4 and includes the additional elements added to the PC version and adds high-speed movement features for the field. I guess The Last Remnant was originally maybe a PlayStation 3 game. I have no idea what the game is though. So that's something to take from that. Now I'm supposed to just be playing Murlocs here, but I'd also kind of like to win. And to win I'd need to do 6 damage, and I'm not sure I'll be able to do that. Alright, so that puts me at the Humble Store. Let's see, is there anything new this Friday from the Humble Store? I doubt it. It's probably just the... yeah, it's just the Jumbo Bundle 12. Which... yeah, that's still a good deal. And... then that puts me back at Twitter to... I could look for new tweets, but I think we're kind of not gonna run into too many. I'm starting to wonder how long TikTok is still going to be a thing. This. 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 And that. In the turn. Seems like a decent number of games have come up. GameIndustry.biz has an article, US games industry revenues up 24% in the third quarter, says the NPD group. YouTube rolled out something called YouTube Stories that doesn't fully make a lot of sense as far as what it actually is, but it does clearly say you'd have to have 10,000 subscribers before you could get it. So yeah, screw the small time YouTube creators yet again, where even if they did make the 1,000 subscriber mark and wanted to try out a feature, no, that feature is locked behind some other metric, and they'll just keep on moving that goalpost. I guarantee it. So yeah, I honestly feel like probably by the time I got 1,000 subscribers, which will probably happen in like 2 or 3 years at the fastest, I bet they would move the goalpost and require me to have even more subscribers until you try to get back into monetization. Hearthstone has a login and pick your favorite to win a free Rusticon Rumble card pack. So I'm gonna retweet that in case people need the link to do that. That's something you should do, get a free card pack in Hearthstone. Hey, it's funny, I was just talking about gadgets and gimmicks being sold by Gearbox, and Gearbox official has this tweet: "It's time for a badass mega fun time giveaway. Enter below for a chance to win everything seen here." And I see a Claptrap Yahtzee card game, 4 Funko Pop heads, a bag, maybe another Claptrap, a diamond unicorn, a bobblehead character, a loot chest, and what looks like 2 books of some sort. So just a lot of garbage.
Give me a quest.
It's probably gonna lose this next turn. That's fine. Back to Bed episode 3 aired 28 minutes ago on my YouTube channel. That'll be the end of that. Sucker Punch is hiring for a senior lighting artist. Gamma Sutra has a blog. What differentiates players in the US and China? And then the subtitle here is Chinese gamers are more competitive, and something else, something COMPLE ... And yeah, that just sounds like jingoism to me more than anything. It's just ridiculous saber rattling. Let's see.
Throw!
TechRaptor has an article. Elon Musk tried to get a Tesla Mario Kart version for his cars. Sounds like an interesting article, but I don't really need to read it. Trade out all of these cards. LibRetro is making significant improvements very consistently about getting PlayStation 1 games to run and several other harder to emulate games running better than they even did originally in some cases. Let's go ahead and play that. Still just scrolling down my Twitter feed. Borderlands is giving away some Borderlands, the pre-sequel shift keys. Like, I have a whole bunch of those, but I wouldn't be surprised if none of them work by the time I try to input them all. Let's see. Still scrolling down. SEA Games announces 6 medals for esports in 2019. I want to see if SEA stands for Sega Entertainment or something. I bet it doesn't. It probably stands for something like sports. Something. Can I survive this in any form or fashion? I can survive if I play this. Scrolling down Twitter, looking for any news. The 2019 GDC Film Festival submissions close next Friday, according to Gamma Sutra, whose parent company owns GDC. And I think I've hit the point where I've seen all the stories. So I could scroll down further, but it's probably for no good reason.
Give me a quest.
Yeah, I'm still just scrolling. Interesting, I saw somebody complaining on Twitter saying your account was inactive. I didn't realize that Twitter would take back your Twitter account name if you didn't tweet from it. I guess that probably wouldn't affect me too much, since my tweets are kind of automated from YouTube. But I suppose if I don't post anything on YouTube for 100 days, I might lose the Twitter account at that point, but then at that point I probably have bigger fish to fry. And we'll see if anything else loads now that we've hit the halfway point in the Twitter feed when it decides to reload new content. Still scrolling down the Twitter feed, seeing if there's anything new. Apparently, according to TechRaptor, a record of the Argus War marriage coming to the PC early next year. We'll look at that article because I don't know if that's a separate standalone game or if it's saying that the concept of marriage is being added to an already existing game. Monolith Games has been tweeting about Condemned. I guess they should be happy about Condemned, since I thought that was the best horror game I've ever played. But Condemned 2 really didn't go anywhere, and it's not available on Steam, and I seriously doubt they'd get a funding to make a Condemned 3. At this point, you'd want to potentially just make a reboot of the series, or at least a remaster. I would argue you could probably get away with a remaster for Condemned. You don't need to reboot the concept. Like, there's one of their tweets, they talked about how there's this collectible in Condemned that you pick up these dead birds and you hear this bone crunching sound, and the audio engineer actually went to a warehouse and found dead birds and actually recorded their bones crunching, so you're actually hearing the crunching of dead birds' bones, which adds some creepiness to that sound effect, certainly. Interesting. GameIndustry.biz. Stardew Valley switches to self-publishing on most platforms. Chucklefish to remain at the helm for the Nintendo Switch and mobile versions. Interesting. So that publishing deal must have ended, and now the developer Stardew Valley can, I guess, take more of the profit. Is, I guess, what that's implying? Okay, well, I thought I was at the end, and then it loaded some more articles. Like, I'm seeing all of these things that I don't think I looked at, but they say they came out 5 hours ago, so how did I miss them? Keep on playing Murlocs over here, I suppose. 4 more damage. And I've opened quite a few tabs for games that I missed. Quite a lot. It almost would justify doing a 3rd episode, but I don't think that there actually is a justification here that makes sense. I think I can still pretty easily just
The light shall burn you.
wrap up probably after this
The light shall
game.
burn you.
Like, I think that we'd be fine to wrap up after this game, and then I'll just play a little bit off screen to get the daily quests that are remaining done. I'm starting to lose a little bit of steam and fall asleep, but it's not been too bad so far. I could have started a little bit earlier, but I kind of didn't want to. I definitely shouldn't have started any later than when I started. Right, so bad news is I'm not going to win. The good news is I'm going to play a bunch of Murloc cards, which is all I was really trying to do. Let's go ahead and kill this. So many games. So many games I didn't cover. Twitter really needs to fix their feeds. It's such a mess. Alright, so I need to play 16 more Murlocs, and let's just come over here and look. 16 more Murlocs, and use my hero power several more times, 8 more times, and then get some druid and rogue victories. And I could do this all on screen, and I would have a little bit to talk about, but I just hit the bottom of my Twitter feed, and it says I have 10 new tweets already, one of which is actually me. Let's look at these new publishing things. See if there's any news that's actually worth reporting on. Yeah, I'm not saying anything right now, and not saying anything does make the danger of me also falling asleep. Yep. So yeah, we're good. We're good. I'll do the rest of this off screen. It's not as much as it really seems like it is. Murlocs will be done in one game. Most of these hero abilities will be done in that same game, and then all I really didn't have to do is struggle to get 2 more druid or rogue victories, which shouldn't be too hard. That's it for this stream and this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, or Battle.net, all of those links are down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game, or you can support me through Patreon. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.